When people call me to talk about their traffic case, their DUI case, or their criminal charge, they often want to know a little bit more about me. So I think it's really important sometimes to let people know why I handle the types of cases that I handle. I started handling protective orders about, I would say, almost 6 years ago. I had a case where somebody consulted me on it. I had only handled criminal matters up to that point. Protective orders oftentimes go hand in hand with a lot of criminal matters like assault or stalking and those type of charges, but I've never really handled a civil protective order. The person that called me was really desperate. They had researched me, they really liked my reviews, and they really wanted me to handle their protective order case. So I got involved in it. They had lost their case down in the Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court in regard to the protective order, and they had appealed it. So the protective order had stayed in place pending that appeal, and we had a hearing date set up in circuit court. Circuit court's a little bit different from the Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court, where the case was originally heard, and there were a lot of discovery. There was a discovery order that we had to follow, and so we tried to do that to the best of our ability. The other side had a really huge law firm that was on the case. I think they were using it for training purposes for their newer associates, and the case was a disaster. I spent a solid month, like really long hours, going through all the paper discovery that they sent me. We had depositions in the case, spent hours and hours and hours putting documents together and going through everything that they sent me so that we could fully be prepared for this hearing. That protective order hearing lasted 2 full days up in the circuit court. It was ridiculous, and at the end of it, I never had felt such relief and satisfaction as I did in knowing that we had given it our all and fought 5 different attorneys that were trying that case against me, and we won. Regardless of which side I'm on, whether I'm helping somebody get a protective order or whether I'm defending it, I'm going to help you fight as hard as I can to get the result that we're looking for. In this particular case, this case was full of lies, full of revenge, full of tactics to play games and to really use this to help somebody gain advantages in other areas of the law in Virginia. The judge saw through it. In his ruling, he basically said this case was ridiculous. He didn't believe anything that they had put forward, and it gave my client a relief to know that he wasn't facing consequences for something that he didn't really do, and that there wasn't a legal hold on him with this protective order. It was a really good feeling for me, and ever since then I've been doing protective orders, not only for people that are fighting them. In those cases, I've seen a lot of cases where they're filed for other reasons besides the fact that people are in fear or in danger, and we've been able to win a lot of those cases where people aren't proving what they need to prove. But I've also handled a lot of cases for petitioners who really are in fear and really need assistance from the courts to keep people that are threatening them or have physically harmed them away from them so that they feel safe. Fairfax County has a program called Attorney of the Day where we assist legal services in handling domestic violence protective orders because legal services can't handle them all. So there's a lot of pro bono attorneys that handle those cases, and I've been able to help a lot of victims with those type of cases when I have volunteered. I've also been hired on cases by both victims and by people that need to defend these protective orders. I will fight as hard as I can. It takes a lot of time to go through all the evidence. There's often photos, emails, texts, chats, Facebook messages, all kinds of things that we have to go through to make sure that each person remembers exactly what they said, that we're prepared if they're asked about something, that we know the context of what it was asked or the context of what they were talking about, and that we are prepared to impeach anything that the person is saying. And impeachment is where they say one thing and then turn around and say something different. So a lot of times when they're testifying, there's been emails or texts or other documentation. Sometimes it's videos or recordings. There's always other things that can show that they're not telling the truth or that the stories aren't the same. That can be true both in cases where there's a victim and I'm helping them, and it can also be true in the case of a defendant where maybe they talked to the police and said one thing and now they're coming and saying something different. You have to be fully prepared in these cases. You have to understand what the law is. You have to be prepared to go through people's personal details and emails and texts and things like that, which they may not really want you to do. But that's how you either help somebody get a protective order or help fight somebody receiving a protective order that's held over their heads to make sure they're in compliance with it.